Hey, you guys, welcome to the Soulful Psychic. I hope you guys are doing okay. So, as promised in the first video, the weekly forecast video, I don't know where I'm going with this. I wrote a couple things down that came to me this morning. I was watching, not Bashar himself, but Darryl Anka. And I can't remember who was interviewing him. I'll put the link to that in the description box, okay? And they were talking about he had watched Disclosure Day. Now, I haven't watched it yet, but I have it. I reserved it for when it comes online, and I'm going to watch it then. And there's something that I say often about movies, TV series. That's my jam. That's how I get a lot of downloads from movies. And I feel that there are trying to figure out how to put this so you understand it. I feel like movie writers, producers, directors, that they are prophetic. Okay. So, okay, I would be considered prophetic. Okay, I can tell you what's going to happen in the future, and I don't do that. I may someday start doing that, but right now I'm not gonna do that. But because I'm not comfortable with it. But predict. That's where. Woo, brain frog. Okay, yeah, I can predict. So that's what a prophet is. They predict things, right? They see things. And they don't necessarily see it right in front of their face. It's mostly, I think, a third eye thing, a crown thing. Okay, so all humans have psychic abilities. All of us, every single one of us. Okay, and my experience in the movies, types of movies I'm drawn to, especially lately, are like they're talking about things that are actually happening now, and showing how certain United States structures are, how they work, all right? And they tell us things or show us things that happen. You see where I'm going with that? Okay, but where does a prophet get the prophecy from? So, a little spoiler alert. Darryl Anka said something that I absolutely agree with. That Steven Spielberg gets his ideas from subconsciously from our star family, right? So a prophet, I call them gifts, right? Our psychic abilities, I call them gifts, because we didn't, Source didn't have to give us these, or God didn't have to give us these gifts. But we are spiritual beings. Okay, so we have these gifts, something that we're not really entitled to. No one had to give us anything. We could just be a bunch of pumps on a log, So we have these gifts in our connection to our omnipotent being, whoever that is for you. I just call mine Source, okay, or the universe, but generally Source. So Source energy and I are connected, and your higher power, you're connected to that because it's what you relate to, right? And I want to tell you, it's okay if your belief system, your spiritual belief system, changes. It should change. I stopped putting a tag on my higher power a long time ago because the tag didn't fit. In certain situations, I'll use the word God because it's what people understand better, right? But I don't believe in it, and my belief system doesn't include a judgmental, harsh God. I just can't wrap my brain around that. Never have been able to, and I was raised in that type of home. Fundamentalist Christian. Hardcore. Couldn't wrap my brain around that. A God who would punish me for making mistakes. And then later in life, kind of recently, I found out that I didn't really make any I didn't make any mistakes. And you haven't made any mistakes either. They're called lessons. They're called experiences. If we made a mistake, it's because we were supposed to. We chose a specific experience. So anywho, back on track, Shelley. So I wanted to point something out. So the government's been releasing portions of UAP, UFO files. Okay? I tried looking at, I couldn't even read it. I couldn't read it. It was so small and you couldn't enlarge it. So if anybody has a link, you know, send it to me in an email to Healing. My email is down in the description box. It's like the second line down. Healingtruthtarot. Just send it there at gmail.com. So if you have a link where I can actually read the flipping things. Anywho, so these two things happened. The third portion or third round of the UAP UFO files were released on the 12th, which is the exact day that Disclosure Day was out in theaters. There is no such thing as a coincidence, not in the sense that people think of a coincidence. People say, "Oh, it's a coincidence." Well, coincidence means that they're totally unrelated, but they happen at the same, or they appear related, but they're not really totally related. It's very confusing. A coincidence is actually something that happens that coincides with something else that happens, and they are related. That's a coinkydink. That's what that really means. The English language has been transformed so many times. You know, my parents used to complain, "You're butchering the English language," and now I'm complaining about people butchering the English language. So, anywho, dictionary meanings are helpful if you're in school, but even that we have to look at the explanations and of what a word means. We have to look at that in our own way. All right, even that, I know it sounds weird, but I'm weird, so just saying. Anywho, so those two things happened on the same day. That's not by chance. That is planned. It was planned. Now, I did get to see a video. Now, I live in the Northeast, Western New York, Northwestern New York. And there was a video that a gentleman, lady or gentleman took, and they won't say where it was, of a UAP. It was very bright. It was zigzagging. It hovered. They said it was like 27,000 feet up. And it would hover and it would zigzag. I'm sorry, there is not a military plane that they would let us know about anyway. They can do that. Now, I know for a fact that the military has alien technology. I know for a fact that they do. Because I'm a psychic and I know this stuff. They have, but that's not what that was. And I'm going to say it was over Lake Erie. If you've never been to Lake Erie, if you live in New York State and you've never been to Lake Erie, they don't call it Lake Erie for nothing. It is eerie. The energy of it is eerie. I've been there. Freaked me out first time I went there. Not a big natural body of water person. It scares me. But anywho, so those two things happened at the same time. So when Spielberg was writing this movie, when he was writing Close Encounters of the Third Kind, that was prophetic as well. It was a little more lighthearted, but he's telling us something. These movies that he makes, these are downloads. that he is receiving from our star family, because it's one way that they are presenting themselves for us in order for us to get used to them. And do you know what happened 13 days later, which is 13 is the number of the feminine, by the way. 13 days later, Thursday, this is really what I was going to talk about. We had a timeline jump. About 2 a.m. Eastern in the Thursday morning. Now, I felt that before it happened because things start to feel surreal. And then things felt surreal for about 2 days after that. And I just wanted to talk about that. So Thursday, what was that, the 25th, I think? Thursday the 25th was our timeline jump. And that part of the reason that a timeline jump happens when the collective of humanity, enough of the collective of humanity is on the same page, where we mesh. Disclosure Day was a big piece of that. The third batch of these UFO, UAP files, that was part of that. We are preparing to see our star family so that we don't freak out. And honestly, I don't think, and I don't want to get political, but I don't think that the current regime is going to be there when they disclose, because we know what's going to happen. Secretary of Defense, because I'm not calling it what he calls it, Secretary of Defense is going to do dumb stuff with the military if disclosure happens while they are still there. So at this point, I mean, humans have been, like, protecting it and not letting information out. And honestly, we weren't ready. We weren't ready. We're still not really ready. Some of us are, most of us aren't, right? We're still not really ready to the, we're not as ready as we need to be for disclosure. I'm just having a hard time with words today. For disclosure to happen, we are being prepared for that. It's a process, just like everything else. Our lives happen a second at a time. These things happen a second at a time as well. Right? So I don't think that humans, obviously because they're releasing these files here, but I don't think that humans really have the market on hiding this information anymore. I think that this is now our star families eking out information, showing up a little bit more here and there, stuff like that. Okay? I think that they are in control of the disclosure, as they should be, because they're disclosing themselves. And Darryl Anka said something else that I agreed with. He said that transparency on the planet needs to start happening before the real transparency of our star family's disclosure can happen. So I guess that's all I wanted to talk about. It was supposed to be about the timeline, but I didn't write that down on my little piece of paper. But the timeline did happen, and it was good. We moved forward a little bit. And again, I know it's painful and it's slow and it's frustrating, and we get impatient. But you know what? On an individual level, as soon as we let go of that frustration and impatience and just go with the flow, things happen so much more quickly. And I want you to remember that self-love is the thing that raises our vibration and therefore raises the vibration of the collective and the planet. Okay? All right, you guys, thanks for putting up with me and my mushy, froggy brain today. I'm not sure what's up with that. But, all right, thanks for showing up. I will see you in the funny paper.